I am curious to know though, since you are plant-based, because I was vegetarian for almost 10 years, and then I decided to start eating fish and like seafood just last summer. So now I'm coming up on a year of eating seafood. And how do you feel about fish?
Well, can you get fish with no mercury? Very difficult.
What's mercury?
Mercury is a heavy metal, and mercury is a waste product from much industry, and that's how come.
Is that
they
true?
get
Is that
it.
a fear mongle?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's true.
It's not. It's like the Minamata Bay. Minamata Bay in about the 1970s, they noticed that in Japan, the cats were backflipping and then dying. They called it dancing cat disease. So they did post-mortem on the cat and found out that mercury had eaten out their brain cells.
Do you love eating fish and believe it's always a healthy choice? Fish is often praised for being a lean source of protein, rich in omega-3 fatty acids, and good for the heart. But what if I told you that some fish, instead of protecting your health, might actually increase your risk of cancer? Yes, fish might be a cause of serious health problems, not because fish is bad in general, but because of how some of them are raised, caught, or processed. This might be shocking, especially if fish is a regular part of your meals. But it's important to know which types come with hidden dangers and why. So what are the types of fish you should avoid, and what exactly makes them risky? And how can you still enjoy seafood without putting your health on the line?
Our waterways and our seas are very polluted today, and it's difficult to get fish oil that is not contaminated.
Keep watching as we break down the top fish that may contribute to cancer and what you can do instead to stay safe. Number 1, farmed salmon. Farmed salmon is often chosen for its high levels of omega-3 fats and steady availability. People eat it to support heart health and brain function. Yet farmed salmon can contain chemical pollutants called PCBs and dioxins. These substances were used in industry years ago and still linger in rivers, lakes, and coastal areas. They enter tiny water organisms and move up the food chain until they reach salmon. In fish farms, salmon eat feed made from smaller fish that may carry these pollutants. Over time, PCBs and dioxins build up in the fatty tissues of the salmon. PCBs, or polychlorinated biphenyls, resist breaking down. They bind to particles in water and sink to the bottom. Tiny creatures ingest them, fish eat those creatures, and larger fish eat the smaller fish. Farmed salmon eat a mix of grains and fish meal that can contain PCBs. This repeated exposure means farmed salmon often have higher levels of PCBs than wild salmon. Dioxins are similar. They form as byproducts in manufacturing and waste burning. They too persist in water and soil. Both groups of chemicals collect in body fat. Humans consuming fish with PCBs or dioxins add these chemicals to their own bodies. Over many years, this added load can raise the chance of some cancers, especially of the liver and reproductive organs. Young children and pregnant women are at greater risk because these chemicals can affect development. Health guidelines often advise these groups to limit farmed salmon to 1 small serving a month. For healthy adults, 2 servings a month is a common recommendation. These limits aim to keep overall PCB and dioxin intake within safe bounds. Cooking farmed salmon does not remove PCBs or dioxins. These chemicals cling to fat, so grilling, baking, or smoking will not lower their levels. Trimming the visible fat can cut a small amount, but most pollutants stay deep in the tissue. Choosing salmon from regions known for clean water is more effective. Certification labels from trusted groups can point to farms that test their fish for pollutants. These labels often require regular testing of water, feed, and fish tissue to ensure levels stay low. Wild salmon generally contain fewer PCBs, but they can still harbour some pollutants depending on their habitat. Salmon from remote or well-managed areas tend to have the lowest levels. To balance benefits and risks, some people rotate between farmed salmon, wild salmon, and other fish such as trout, cod, or herring. This rotation spreads out any chemical intake and still provides essential omega-3 fats. Lean fish like cod carry fewer pollutants than fatty fish, making them a lower-risk choice for frequent meals. Number 2, Cantonese-style salted fish. Cantonese-style salted fish is a time-honored food from southern China. It is made by covering small fish in salt and letting them air dry. Before refrigerators, this was a safe way to keep fish edible for weeks. The intense salty taste remains popular today, but the process forms chemicals called nitrosamines. These substances can damage cell DNA and raise cancer risk over time, especially when many servings are eaten in childhood. Nitrosamines develop during the salting and drying steps. Natural compounds in the fish react with salt under warm, humid conditions. Once formed, nitrosamines remain even after cooking or washing. Children who ate salted fish often faced higher rates of nasopharyngeal cancer, which affects the upper throat near the nose. Studies found that those who ate salted fish more than 3 times a week before age 10 had several times the risk compared to those who ate it rarely. In adults, the cancer link is less clear but still concerning. Nitrosamines can also target the stomach lining and the esophagus, leading to other cancers in the digestive tract. Traditional methods rarely control the salt levels or drying time tightly. Modern producers can reduce nitrosamine formation by lowering salt, adding vitamin C, or drying fish at lower temperatures. However, small-scale operations may not use these controls. Health agencies now classify Cantonese-style salted fish as a known human carcinogen. To lower risk, families are advised to make salted fish a rare treat rather than a weekly staple. Children's diets should avoid regular servings. When people choose salted fish, they can look for products labeled as low nitrosamine or reduced salt and made by brands that test nitrosamine levels. Reading labels and asking vendors about their processing helps shoppers make safer choices. Alternative preservation methods can mimic salted fish flavor with fewer risks. Quick freezing, light brining, or vacuum packing fresh fish extends shelf life without high nitrosamine levels. Marinades with citrus or soy sauce add bold taste without the same chemical byproducts. For those craving the classic taste, using a small amount of salted fish in a large dish reduces individual exposure. Mixing it with vegetables or rice also cuts the nitrosamine per serving. Cooking at home can also lower risk. Rinsing salted fish and soaking it briefly loosens some surface salt, though it cannot remove nitrosamines deep inside. Grilling or steaming in foil helps contain and drain extra fat and surface salt. Vitamin C-rich ingredients like lemon juice or bell pepper added at cooking time may slow new nitrosamine formation. Yet these steps only go so far, so overall frequency of consumption matters most. Number 3, smoked fish products. Smoked fish is valued for its deep smoky flavor and longer shelf life. Common types include smoked salmon, kippered herring, and smoked trout. The smoking process involves exposing fish to wood smoke at temperatures from 20 degrees to 80 degrees Celsius. As smoke wafts over the fish, tiny particles called PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, stick to the flesh. Some PAHs harm DNA and can cause cancer if consumed often over many years. Wood type, smoke density, and temperature all affect PAH levels. Hardwoods like oak produce different PAHs than softwoods like pine. Higher smoke density and longer smoking times raise PAH buildup. Hot smoking, with temperatures above 60 degrees Celsius, cooks the fish as it smokes. Cold smoking, below 30 degrees Celsius, leaves the fish raw but smoked. Cold smoked fish may allow more smoke contact, boosting PAHs if not carefully managed. Many smokers also use curing salts that include nitrates or nitrites. These chemicals slow bacterial growth and give smoked fish its pinkish color. Yet they can react with amino acids in the fish to form nitrosamines. Nitrosamines can damage DNA in the stomach or esophagus and lead to tumors over time. Both PAHs and nitrosamines resist breaking down during cooking, so they stay in the fish once formed. Commercial smoking facilities often control heat and smoke output with filters or smoke generators. They may test each batch of fish for pHs and nitrosamines to meet food safety rules. Smaller home-based setups rarely have such controls. Home smokers who want lower contaminant levels can use clean hardwood, keep smoke light, raise the fish higher above the heat source, and limit smoking time to under 2 hours. Eating smoked fish several times a week adds to a person's daily intake of PAHs and nitrosamines. Over time, this can raise cancer risk in the lung, stomach, and colon. Diet experts recommend enjoying smoked fish as a special dish rather than a weekly main course. Swapping smoked fish for fresh or lightly cooked fish like poached cod or steamed trout spreads out the exposure. When buying smoked fish, look for labels that note cold smoked with no nitrites added or tested for PAHs. Brands that publish their own test results offer extra peace of mind. At home, trimming the edges where smoke pools or cutting away the outer few millimeters can lower contaminant levels. Rinsing and patting dry removes some surface residue, but cannot clear deeply absorbed PAHs. Number 4, Baltic herring. Baltic herring is a small, oily fish found in the Baltic Sea. It is rich in omega-3 fats and protein. For generations, people in Northern Europe have eaten it fresh, pickled, or lightly smoked. Unfortunately, the Baltic Sea has taken in industrial runoff, sewage, and farm fertilizers for decades. Pollutants such as PCBs and dioxins settled into the water and entered the food chain. Herring, which feed on tiny organisms in the water, gradually absorb these chemicals into their bodies. Dioxins and PCBs stick to fat and build up over time in any animal that eats contaminated food. Once people eat these fish, the chemicals join their own body fat. Over years, this slow build-up can raise the chance of liver and skin cancers and can affect hormone balance. Young children and pregnant women face extra risk since dioxins can impact development and immune health. Authorities set safe weekly limits for dioxins and PCBs. In some studies, children who ate Baltic herring several times a week exceeded those limits. Adults who ate herring once a week often came close. To balance benefits and risks, experts suggest adults eat fatty fish like herring no more than once or twice weekly. Women who are pregnant or plan to become pregnant should limit it to once every 2 weeks. Smaller, younger herring carry fewer pollutants. The longer a fish lives, the more time it has to collect dioxins and PCBs. Seasonal and regional differences also matter. Fish caught near industrial areas or large rivers draining farmland often have higher levels. Local fish advisories list safer times and places to harvest. Following these guides helps people pick cleaner fish. Freezing or cooking does not remove dioxins or PCBs. These chemicals remain in the fat even after years in cold storage or after baking or grilling. To lower intake, trimming fatty sections reduces some pollutants. Mixing herring with lean fish, vegetables, or grains also dilutes the overall concentration of chemicals per meal. Alternative sources of omega-3 fats include wild salmon from clean waters, farm trout with tested feeds, or supplements that filter out dioxins and PCBs. Checking supplement labels for purification methods ensures contaminants stay low. By rotating these sources, people spread out any chemical exposure while still getting heart-healthy fats. Number 5, European eel. European eel is a long, snake-like fish prized for its rich, oily flesh. It starts life in the Sargasso Sea, drifts to European rivers as a juvenile, and returns to the sea to spawn years later. Along the way, freshwater pollution from factories, sewage, and farming enters rivers and collects in sediment. Eels, which burrow in riverbeds, absorb these pollutants into their fatty tissues. Eel's high fat content makes it a prime carrier of PCBs, dioxins, flame retardant chemicals, and stain-resistant substances. Studies show the eel from some European rivers contains pollutant levels far above those in other fish species from the same waters. As eels age, they accumulate even more, so larger specimens often have higher loads. Humans eating pollutant-rich eel add these chemicals to their own bodies. Over years, this build-up can raise the chance of liver, skin, and respiratory cancers. Children and pregnant women face extra risk as some chemicals can cross the placenta or affect growing bodies. Health agencies in Europe often set strict limits on eel consumption based on local river pollution data. To reduce risk, guidelines may suggest eating eel from certain waters no more than 2 or 3 times a year. In areas with heavy contamination, even that may be too much. Farmed eel raised in clean tanks offers a safer choice. Farms that test water and feed for PCBs and dioxins can produce eel with far lower pollutant levels. Certification labels help consumers find these products. Cooking does not remove PCBs or dioxins. These substances stay in the fat even after smoking, frying, or baking. Trimming visible fat can cut a small share of pollutants. Mixing eel dishes with vegetables or grains dilutes chemical levels per portion. Choosing younger, smaller eels also lowers intake. Other fish that offer good flavour but carry fewer pollutants include trout from tested farms, wild salmon from clean regions, or lean species like cod. Supplements made by distilling out pollutants can supply omega-3 fats without added risk. Rotating these options in the diet spreads out any remaining exposure. Number 6, farmed sea bass. Farmed sea bass is a popular fish, especially in Mediterranean cuisine, and many people choose it thinking it's a healthier protein option. However, farmed sea bass can carry serious risks when consumed regularly over time. The main issue lies in how these fish are raised. Farmed sea bass are kept in crowded underwater pens, often with thousands of fish packed into a small area. In these conditions, disease spreads quickly, so farmers rely on heavy doses of antibiotics and chemical treatments to prevent infections and parasites. These drugs don't always get flushed out of the fish before they're processed and sold. When humans eat fish containing antibiotic residues, it may contribute to antibiotic resistance and gut health issues. More importantly, the buildup of chemical residues in the body over time can add to cancer risk. Farmed sea bass are also fed with processed fish meal, which may include ground-up fish waste, soy, corn, and animal byproducts. These feeds are often treated with preservatives and additives to keep them stable and profitable. Some of these additives, like ethoxyquin, have been questioned for their possible link to liver damage and cancer in animals, though more research is still being done on humans. In addition, the fat profile of farmed sea bass is different from wild sea bass. Wild fish tend to have more omega-3 fatty acids, while farmed ones may contain more omega-6 fats due to their diet. High omega-6 intake compared to omega-3 has been associated with inflammation, which plays a role in many diseases, including cancer. The environmental toxins found in the water around fish farms also get absorbed into the fish. Studies have shown that farmed sea bass can carry higher levels of dioxins and polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, which are known carcinogens. These chemicals can remain in your body for years, slowly affecting your organs and cells. Because of all this, regularly eating farmed sea bass, especially when it's not clearly labelled or sourced responsibly, may increase your risk of cancer and other chronic diseases. If you like sea bass, try to choose wild-caught varieties and avoid eating it too frequently. Number 7, king mackerel. King mackerel is a large, oily fish often found in the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. It's popular for grilling and smoking due to its rich flavour and high fat content. But king mackerel is one of the fish you should be careful about, especially when thinking about long-term health. The biggest concern with king mackerel is its very high mercury content. Mercury is a toxic heavy metal that enters the ocean through pollution, mostly from coal-burning power plants. Larger fish like king mackerel absorb mercury from smaller fish they eat. Since king mackerel is a predator and lives longer than many other fish, its body stores more mercury over time. When humans eat fish with high mercury levels regularly, the mercury builds up in the body, especially in organs like the brain, liver, and kidneys. High mercury exposure damages cells, affects the nervous system, and may weaken the immune system. Some studies suggest that long-term exposure to mercury can increase the risk of certain cancers, especially if other environmental or lifestyle risk factors are also present. Another problem is that king mackerel may contain PCBs and dioxins, which are industrial chemicals that have been banned in many places but still linger in ocean waters. These chemicals are fat-soluble, meaning they store in the fatty tissues of fish, and king mackerel has a lot of fat. These substances can interfere with hormones, harm the immune system, and contribute to cancer over time. Pregnant women and children are usually advised to avoid king mackerel entirely because of these risks, but even healthy adults should limit how often they eat this fish. Once in a while might be fine, but regular consumption can quietly cause long-term damage. Number 8, imported Pangasius, swai or basa fish. Pangasius, also known as swai or basa, is a type of catfish that's mostly imported from Southeast Asia, especially Vietnam. It's a cheap, mild-tasting white fish that's sold widely in frozen fillets. You'll find it in many restaurants, school cafeterias, and even in pre-packaged meals. But what makes it so cheap also makes it risky. The conditions in which Pangasius is raised are often far from clean. Many of the farms operate in polluted river systems where the water contains industrial waste, human sewage, and agricultural runoff. These contaminants don't just float past the fish, they can be absorbed into their bodies and passed on to humans when we eat them. To prevent disease in such dirty environments, fish farmers use antibiotics and chemical treatments, sometimes including ones that are banned in other countries. These substances may linger in the fish meat and get into your system. Over time, regular exposure to these chemicals can increase cancer risk, especially when mixed with other dietary and environmental toxins. Another issue is the feed. Pangasius are bottom feeders, and in farms they are usually fed a mix of soy, ground fish waste, and chemical additives to make them grow faster. Some of the additives have been found to contain dangerous preservatives or even banned substances, such as malachite green, a chemical linked to cancer and banned in many countries for use in food animals. What's more, independent tests of imported Pangasius have found traces of heavy metals like lead and arsenic. These toxins are linked to several forms of cancer and other serious health problems, including kidney and liver damage. Even small amounts can build up in your system over time. Because it's hard to track the exact origin and farming standards of imported Pangasius, it's difficult to know what you're really getting. Most packages don't reveal where or how the fish was raised, and there's little government oversight in many exporting countries. Thanks for watching, and if you found this helpful, don't forget to like and share. Stay informed, stay healthy, and see you in the next one.